All right, well, hello and welcome back. This is Joe Brownlee with Palm Beach State College, and you are watching the Intermediate Algebra Final Exam Review Series. We are on question number 20, and so without further hesitation, let's get into it. So the directions for number 20 are simply to solve the equation. And the equation they give us to solve is radical p squared minus 3p plus 16 equals p plus 1. Alright, we'll set that aside and go ahead and work on what they've given us. Now, you may recognize, or hopefully recall, that when we're solving for an equation, or solving an equation with variables, we want to solve for the variable itself, meaning isolate the variable, and then have the solution on the other side of the equal sign. So in this case, we're going to have p equals some number. So if I want to isolate my variable, well, the first thing I probably am going to want to do is get rid of this radical sign, right? And so in order to do that, we're going to square both sides. And when we square both sides, on the left-hand side, all I get is an elimination of that radical sign simply by squaring, and I'm left with everything that was originally under my radical. On the right hand side, however, since I'm squaring a binomial, I want to write my binomial out twice and then FOIL. So p times p, well, that gives me p squared. P times 1 gives me simply p. And then 1 times p gives me another p. And p plus p, well, that's a 2p. And then lastly, 1 times 1 gives me 1. So when I square both sides of my equation, on my left, I get rid of my radical, and I just have p squared minus 3p plus 16. And on the right, when I square the equation, I'm foiling out my binomial, and I get p squared plus 2p plus 1. And if I'm solving for p, then I want to start getting p to one side and everything else to the other. So let's go ahead and subtract p squared from both sides. And when I do that, our p squareds eliminate. Now I moved my p squared from the right to the left, but you could just as easily have moved from left to right. Our result would have been the same. Our p squareds eliminate. And when they eliminate, I'm left with negative 3p plus 16 equals 2p plus 1. And again, let's start getting our p's to one side, so I can either add 3p to both sides, or I can subtract 2p from both sides. I like to bring my smaller to my larger, and so negative 3 is smaller than positive 2, so I'm going to add 3p to both sides. But again, if you wanted to move and subtract 2p from both sides, that's just as well. On the left, they cancel, and I'm left with 16. And on the right, I have 2p plus 3p. Well, that gives me 5p plus 1. And I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. And when I do, I'm left with 15 equals 5p. And my last step is going to be divide by 5 on both sides. And when I do, I get p equals 3. So, again, when we start out and they want us to solve an equation and we have a radical, square both sides, because remember, squaring both sides ensures that our equation stays balanced, because whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. And when we square both sides, we end up eliminating our radical sign on the left, and we end up getting a trinomial on the right. And in this case, our p squared's eliminated, and so we were left with just a simple linear equation. And those, of course, you know how to solve. You're just solving for your variable. So get your variable to one side of the equation and solve. And in this case, our solution was p equals 3. All right, well, that was number 20. We are on our way to number 21. Again, this is Joe Brownlee. I hope to see you at the next video. Thanks for watching.